Let's start a discussion on the very important topic. And most of the interviewer definitely ask you on the topic on the interview questions. And each and every person who are working in the AIML or the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing or in the finance domain. So these topics are very important for them, and to understand these, the things I'm going to explain you, it's a very important for you. And it, if you add this thing in your CV, so that will increase the quality of your CV and the chances to get your CV is a shortlisted. So let us start the discussion on the topic, the future of finance. In that, the role of AI and machine learning in the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So what are the roles are taken by the artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques in the field of AIML and CFT? So I'll explain you that thing in details, and how the future the financial crime area will look like. What the techniques used by the financial institution or the bank prevent the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So let's start, guys, a discussion in details on that topic. So let's first, I'll clearly give you the agenda of this presentation and what I am going to cover in this presentation. So first, I'll give you the introduction of the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing, and then we will discuss the promise of AI and machine learning in the field of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. And then we will discuss on the key technologies which are upcoming in the artificial intelligence and machine learning, and most of the financial institutions or the bank or the insurance companies are now started using these AIML techniques to do the transaction monitoring, or to do the customer due diligence, or to do the KYC thing to identify the customer behavior. To use already they start using these technologies, and the application enhance the transaction monitoring system. So what are the techniques, or what are the applications of the AIML techniques? What are the libraries that we use to enhance the the transaction monitoring system? And then the application, customer due diligence, CDD, and KYC. The KYC technique will increase to identify the KYC. The process will the fast and the timely, and the scalability security things will increase in the futures. And the applications of the sanction screening and the benefits of AIML in the anti-money laundering and the counter-terrorist financing. And then we discuss on the challenges as a consideration of the AIML techniques, and the how the future will the look like, or the future outlook after implementing the AIML techniques. So there are so these are the topics we are going to cover in this video. So let's start, guys. Let's start. So first one, I'll give you the, it has, I'll confirm that I'll give you the introduction on the part of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So the anti-money laundering is a technique, or it is a way to preventing the funds from illegal sources for the entering into the financial system. So there is a frauduler, or the criminal who earn the illegal money, or he has the not clean money. He will enter this money into the system and clean this money, and to buy the expensions thing, to buy the home, land, whatever thing he wants, and display these monies to the clean, and to earn this money by legal way. So the anti-money laundering is a such things to prevent, to identify the fraudulent or the criminal who do the illegal who earn the money from the illegal sources and want to convert it as a clean money. Okay, and then the counter financing of terrorism. So stopping the funds from being used to support the terrorism. So there are the funds that goes to the terrorist account. It may be the earning source, the illegal source, or the illegal source, or the trust. They collect these funds and to give the terrorists to do the terrorist activity. To identify such pattern and to prevent happening this thing and stop this thing, to to make the payments for the terrorism. So these are the things. So in the current methodology, the challenges in the traditional methodology. So what are the traditional traditional methodology and what they are the challenges. So first one is a rule based system or the risk based approach. It is and the static and easily bypassed by the criminal can easily overcome these the approach, understand these approach, and then use their techniques. It is to clean the money or to fund the terrorist financing. In it has the high volume of false positive rate, so the compliance team or operation team are not able to work on the true positive rates, and they spend more efforts on the false positive sides. It's that's is the thing there. And then the manual process are slow, inefficient and expensive. The backward work or the backlog workload will increase with this system. So that's why each the financial institution or the banks want to move in the AIML technique. So let's start discussion on that point. So first and the most important is the promise of AI and the machine learning will provide you in the field of anti-money laundering and the financial counter-terrorist financing. So why the AIML we are implementing the transaction monitoring system, name screening system, or the payment screening system to be the part of the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So first point is that AI/ML model can analyze vast amount of data in real time. So these the techniques AI/ML we can do the vast amount of data and analyze with the real time whenever the customer is onboarding. At that time we do the the name screening or the customer profiling and data verify, and then if we do the supervised learning technique, it is a fraudulent customer or non-fraudulent customer, or we use the unsupervised learning to detect the pattern of that customer behavior with the data to analyze that customer, and then they are adaptive and can learn new patterns of criminal behavior if the criminal behavior are going changes. So AIML technique itself learn the new pattern. you know we use the reward and penalty technologies from that reward and penalty thing, so that the unsupervised learning itself able to understand the criminal behavior and non-criminal behavior, and accordingly detect the financial crimes to the systems or to turn the red flags, and they helps it from the reactive to proactive approach to the risk management approach. Definitely we are going to reactive to the proactive approach by using the AIML technique. So let's move on the next slide. The key AIML technologies which are now going to use by the anti-money laundering and counter terrorist financing. So first one is a machine learning, natural language processes and graph analytics. So the machine learning in which the uses the algorithms to automatically learn the insight and recognize the pattern of historical behavior of customer or the historical pattern of the transaction monitoring, and use the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning techniques, and to detect the fraudulent transaction and to do the red flags, and to that will help us to increase the number of true positive scenarios and reduce the false positive scenarios detection. And then the natural language processing, which we also called as a NLP, it will help us to analyze the unstructured data like news report, email, social media, to go and to analyze these things and implement that thing on the real time monitoring system, and can use the adverse media screening and enhance the due diligence of customer. So we don't need in the future if these things we implement, so that will automatically increase the name screening or the sanction screening ad, and remove the names of the person who the sanctions countries, the entity who have the sanctions, or the economic sanction, technology sanction, all these things done by the AIML itself. And the graphs and graph and analyticals, so visualize an analytical relationship between the entities, accounts and the transaction. So AIML technique will do the link analysis or the trend analysis or the transaction link analysis technique, so that will help us, or that will help bank to make the relationship between the entities or the individual and their transaction and their accounts, how the process or how the fund flow will happen. That will happen in the graphical way after implementing the AIML techniques in the transaction monitoring system or the name screening system or the payment screening system, and that helps that helps to uncover the hidden criminal network that are difficult to detect or otherwise using the other techniques. So that's the key benefits from the AIML technique, which the future are going to implement into the AML and CFT systems. Okay, so let's move on the next slide. That is the application enhance the transaction monitoring. So what are the applications we are going to add? The enhance the transaction monitoring system. So first application that enhance the transaction monitoring system. The traditional method which is used in the transaction monitoring system is a rule based or the logic based. We just simply do the rules or logic to the system that flag the transaction over the $10,000. So if the anyone can do the transaction above the $10,000, then the system will red flag that transaction, and there is a chances that fail positive will get increases. But if we are going to implement the AML method, so that method learn the customer behavior and the customer normal behavior and the extreme behavior, and that behavior basis on the data basis it will give us the red flag has that will help us to reduce the false positive and increase the true positive scenarios in the transaction monitoring system, and they can detect the suitable deviation from frequent small deposit that are designed to avoid the detection and structuring things. The result is a significant reduce the false positive, which I already told you, and allowing the analyst to focus on the real threats, and the time will increasing the analysts in the true positive scenarios and reduce the false positive scenarios after implementing the AIML technique in enhance the transaction monitoring system. Let's discuss on the next applications, that is a customer due diligence, which we call the CDD, and the KYC. So the transaction, the traditional way, that's a manual check of document and leads. There is a teams that will manually review one by one field and check entire the documents, and accordingly they will to fit into the system. But we add the AIML technique that will automates the identify the verification and the document scanning. The system will automatically scan the data from the document and update that data into the system, so that will futurely detect, and that will also use the fuzzy logic to from the sanctions list or the internal blacklist or the word checklist to do these things, and continuously monitor the customer behavior and their risk profile accordingly. It is and the medium risk or high risk or the low risk customer, as per the do the the NPL analysis or the internal data or the customer behavior, they can apply the risk to that customer profile and provide the comprehensive risk score by analyzing the data from various sources like internal sources, external sources, or the government database sources, and to do these things with the help of the AIML technique. So these are the important applications of the AI and ML techniques. So let's move on. The next applications of the AIML technique is a sanction screening, and it's the most important. Whenever the banks or the financial institutions and the insurance company are want to onboard the customer on their system, so they initially do the sanction screening for the customer. Whenever you add any the beneficiary in your the internet banking or the mobile banking, so the bank will give us initially for the first after adding the 5,000 and then the 24 hours the 25,000, and after some time you can send them 1 lakh or 2 lakh, do the RTGS and NFT transaction, because these things bank to do the sanction screening for you are the beneficiary also. So the traditional method, the screening again the statics and sanction list will happen, and then AIML method use the fuzzy matching and the natural language processing technique to reduce the false positive from the name variation like the Johns and J Smith. That's the techniques, the fuzzy matching techniques will use by the bank to do identify the such kind of the name mismatching things. And then the screening of political exposed person will happen. That's a bank. In terms of bank, we call as a PIPs, political exposed person, the person who are in the higher authority of banks, and the political persons, and who have the rights or high capabilities to that has the high chances to do the criminal activities. That's why the bank has the political exposed person list and adverts the media in real time and adopting to new information as it become available, and update the internal list by the banks in the sanction screening application. So let's move on the next. That's the benefit of the AI and ML in the anti-money laundering and counter terrorist financing. So first benefit is increase the efficiency. Second one is improve the accuracy. Third one is cost reduction and proactive risk management. So the increase the efficiency. Obviously, after implementing the AI ML, get the efficiency of system, the transaction monitoring system, name screening system, or the payment screening system definitely goes to automate and repetitive tasks free and of the human resource, to reduce the human resource to interact in such the systems. And this will improve the accuracy. System AI model can detect the subtitle patterns and reduce the false positive and increase the efficiency of the systems and the cost reduction. There is a manual processes will reduce, automatic process will increase, the human interaction will reduce. That's why the cost of humans and the technology or the system get reduced, and the process will increase and the cost reduction will happen. The fewer manual review and more efficient operation lead to significant cost saving, and the operation automatic process will increase, so cost reduction automatically will done by the system. And the proactive risk management, predictive analytics help the anticipate and prevent the financial crimes from that is done from that. So let's move on the challenges and consideration while implementing anti-money laundering and AI ML technique in the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. So first challenge is the data quality. AI models are only as good as data they are trained on. So that they will need they need really data to train these models and test the model. So we need the data that will train the AI model. So poor data leads to poor results. So we need to the data, the exact data that helps the AI model to train the data as appropriate way. So high quality of data we need to train these model to do the appropriate predictions from the in the perspective of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. And then explainability, it's the black box problems. The explainability, it's difficult to explain the regulator how the AIML model arrive at decision making. Definitely, there is a person who need why that AIML techniques to predict some alert on that customer behavior or the customer pattern. So that explainability to explain that functions or features why that alert get generated to the regulator, it's so very difficult and very challenging, and that role maybe increase and bank hire some persons who can able to explain why the AML technique will generate that alerts, which is the key requirement for the compliance. The compliance team wants to why that alert will get generated. And the regulatory compliance, the regulator landscape is still catching up the technology, creating the level of ambiguity. So there is a regulator are also not adopting the AIML techniques, and they are also working on to adopt the AIML techniques. So that's the regulatory compliance thing will there, and the implementation cost, the initial investment in the technology and upskill the stock can begin the high. So the bank or the financial institution or invest the insurance firm need to implement the cost, huge cost in the AIML things in the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. The initial investment in that technology is very high, but once that investment is get done, then it will the save millions and trillions of amounts of the bank, and predict the accuracy will increase the very high. So let's discuss on the future outlook. if after once the implementing the AML techniques in the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing, so how the future will look like? So the use of AIML is becoming the necessity, not an option. So the bank will necessarily adopt these technologies for the financial institution or bank and the insurance firms. The focus will still sit toward the compliances first AI. So first compliance AI, where the transparency and explainability are built in the front of the start, and increase the collaboration between the humans and AI system will be key by combating sophisticated financial crime. So that will increase the collaboration between humans and AI system will be key and combating the sophisticated financial crime. So that's way the future will look like. So thanks, that explanation is get completed. If you have any open points or any doubts, or if you want more learn in that the artificial intelligence and AI techniques or the Python, please do the the comments my video, so that I'll be explaining that part is also, and I'll be explaining you the functional side also and the technical side also, so you can able to get the 360-degree way understanding on that point. So thanks for attending that video. If you like my efforts and my videos, please do like and subscribe my channel, and please do comment, so that will motivate me to create more videos you for on such topics. Thank you so much.